Oh, hey there. Didn't see you. Um, you know what time it is? It's time to take Blackburn Rovers back to the Premier League. Alright guys, hello, welcome back. That's right, we are going to try and take Blackburn Rovers back to the Premier League. Obviously, as you can see, I've just taken the job. You take a quick look at my profile and, well, I've got a Sunday League reputation and it's not looking good. It's going to be really, really tough to try and get the players on my side. But you know what? Regardless of how much experience you've got, Blackburn Rovers are such a shambles right now, and have been for the past few years, that it's going to be a tough job anyways. Just to clarify, the database I'm using is Pro's latest database. There will be a link to it in the description below, and that means we have some of the latest transfers included in this save. For example, Ian Holloway's QPR manager, Paul Lambert, Wolves manager, etc, etc. And as a result of that, unlike when you use the default database, I have no money to spend, as you can see on the top right hand side of the screen. The good news is though that we still got a little bit of budget to spend on just wages, which means we might be able to bring the odd player in on loan here and there. If you take a look at the club's predicted finish, it's unfortunately 18th, so the whole going back to Premier League thing isn't really looking likely at the moment. But you know what, anything's possible. Now, one thing I always love to do when taking over from a different manager is to basically clear out all his backroom staff. But because of how tight our owners here are at Blackburn, basically, if I sack any of the staff, not only will they not let me sack them off, or will it be a really bad financial decision to sack them off, because you've obviously got to pay them off, but at the same time, they won't let me bring in anyone new. So, unfortunately, I'm stuck with the staff I've currently got, which, again, is going to make my life even tougher. We're not going to take a look at every single player in detail, but we're just going to try and take a quick look at the formation we're going to be playing and just analyse the squad depth that we've got. So we've got two goalkeepers, nothing special there. Right back is a position where we're not great, to be brutally honest. Ben Marshall's currently our best right back, and the truth is he's a right mid. So that says a lot, really, about our squad depth in that position. And the fact that Wes Brown, you know, who for some reason hasn't even retired yet, is our second best right back with 10 acceleration and 9 pace. Says it all. Centre back, we've got some half decent depth. Charlie Mulgrew, ex-Celtic player, bags of experience on this lad. Not as fast as he used to be, obviously being 30 years old, but as a ball-playing defender, technically he's brilliant, and he's got 15 free kick taken. So if he can get us 3 or 4 free kick goals a season, not too bad for a centre-back / centre defensive mid. We've also brought in Gordon Gray from Brighton on a free transfer. Obviously, Scottish leader once upon a time. Again, not as fast as he used to be, so that might prove to be a problem going into the season. But he brings bags of experience, particularly in the Championship, where experience is key to our back four. Left-back wise, Tommy Hoban, who's really a centre-back, is our best left-back. And he's right-footed, and, you know, it says it all. We're a mess at the moment, and it is going to take a miracle to try and get this team promoted, but it's a challenge I'm willing to take on. Charlie Mulgrew, who we just looked at, is our second best left-back, and our next best left-back is probably Stephen Hendry. Young Scottish kid on loan from West Ham, but hasn't really played in the Championship before. He was on loan at Southend United last season, so this kid's going to be a bit of a gamble, but we want more offensive fullbacks, and he's got a lot more pace than some of our other potential left backs. He's got decent crossing, decent tackling as well, and to be brutally honest, when you consider how skint we are, he's the best we can do. Next up, taking a look at our midfield. As you can see, we've got a fair amount of depth in midfield. Right mid, Elliot Bennett is apparently our best right midfielder. Pretty pacey player. The only downside to Elliot Bennett is that he's not the strongest of players, so he can get bullied if the opposition try to exploit that. Technically, not too bad. Decent work rate as well. Pretty much what you want from a winger. As far as other wingers are concerned, Craig Conway, phenomenal player in my opinion, one of our best players. He's not getting any younger, unfortunately, but his work rate in previous games used to be 20, and that would just make him phenomenal. He can also play on the left. And even though he's right-footed, that gives you that second option to play him on the left and use him as an inside forward as well. So he's going to be a really important player for us once he can recover from his injury. As far as other midfielders are concerned, centre midfield, again, we haven't really got amazing central midfielders. Jack Burns, a young lad we've brought in on loan from Man City. He was playing in the Eredivisie, however you pronounce that, in the Dutch Premier League last season for Cambuur. He did get relegated with them, but he does look like a half-tidy, decent player. So we'll have to see how he develops. As far as the rest of our other central midfielder players are concerned, they're all really mainly more defensive players rather than the more technically gifted playmaker style of player that Jack Byrne is. We've got Corey Evans, went to the Euros with Northern Ireland. Half-decent all-round player, more of a defensive midfielder again, though. High work rate, decent tackling, decent marking, and so on, but he can pass a ball or two. We've got Hopak Pan, who on paper looks really good. Unfortunately, in real life, I can't say the same applies, but physically he's really, really good as well. So hopefully planning to maybe think about using him as a box-to-box midfielder and try and utilise his physical ability. Next up, we've got Jason Lowe, product of our youth academy, I believe. Yes, he can double up at right back and defensive mid, but for me, he's not really a right back, so we will more than likely see him playing defensive mid most of the time, unless Ben Marshall gets injured and can't play right mid. But again, not really a phenomenal player, not really the type of players we need to get promoted out of this division, but anything is possible. Our best striker, without a shadow of a doubt, is Danny Graham. We're very lucky to have a player of his calibre. He's got a bit of everything, really. He's got a lot of experience at this level, as you can see, playing with Borough, Wolves, Watford, where he really started to surprise people with his goal-scoring ability before Swansea picked him up and he started bagging in the Premier League. So he can offer everything, really, Danny Graham. Not as fast as he used to be, but he's strong. He'll piss off opposition centre-backs, and he's got a knack of being in the right place at the right time, good in the air as well, and hopefully he'll grab at least 10-15 goals a season for us. Next up, Anthony Stokes. Again, not as fast as he once upon a time was. We do have quite a lot of players who are aging, to be brutally honest, but still, Anthony Stokes, he's playing in the Champions League with Celtic. He comes to us with a fair amount of experience and technically very, very decent as well. So hopefully he too contributes and ends up making a difference for us. Next up, Marvin Emnes, on loan from Swansea. We've only got him until January, but what we need at the moment, in my opinion, is pace and versatility. And what I like about Marvin Emnes is that not only can he play up front, he can play on the wings as well. And he's got that extra kick of pace that you need to get past your opposition fullback. So we'll have to see how he develops, how well he fits into the Championship. Not the strongest of players in a very physical league, but hopefully he won't have to worry about that because he can run away from whoever's trying to close him down. So Marvin Emnes, again, not just a striker option, but midfield option for us as well. And last but not least, we've got Sam Gallagher, young Sam Gallagher. This lad was on loan at MK Dons last season. Unfortunately, didn't bag any goals. But in real life, he's been doing really, really well for us. He's 194 centimetres. Centre-backs shit themselves quite literally when they come up against this lad. He's decent in the air. He can finish. He can run. He's young. I personally think his attributes are quite poor in comparison to what I've seen from him in real life. But let's just hope that we can find the same form he's got in real life in Football Manager, and he can start banging in the goals for us this season. And if I can get 10 goals a season out of him, or at least in this season before he goes back to Southampton, who do have an amazing youth academy, then happy days as far as I'm concerned. That'll be a decent step in the right direction. Tactically, the way we're starting things off is using one of my 4-4-2 tactics that I've found works well in this game because, well, let's just say width doesn't work as well in FM17 as it did in FM16, where you could just basically use overpowered fullbacks, cross balls into the box for days and score 6 goals a game. I find that playing quite narrow formations are very solid defensively and simultaneously work well going forwards as well. So that's why we've actually gone with wide playmakers on the wings, very similar to Manuel Pellegrini's approach, the approach he had at Real Madrid, the approach that he had at Villarreal, and kind of the approach that he had at Manchester City, except for Manchester City he brought in Jesus Navas as a winger on one of the sides and used David Silva as the wide playmaker to cut inside on the left-hand side. In our case, what I find in FM17 is that even though you set them to wide playmakers and they've got an instruction to cut inside, they won't always cut inside, you know what I mean? So I find that you get a nice balance between a wide playmaker and a winger, which is what I want, and it keeps your opposition guessing. We've gone for a defensive midfielder simply because our box-to-box midfielder is on support, which means he's going to be making runs forward. So the fact that he's a defensive midfielder rather than a central midfielder just gives us that extra bit of defensive stability. I've got my fullbacks on automatic simply because when they're on automatic, it means that their mentality will change based on our team mentality. If as a team we're playing attacking, they'll bomb forward. If as a team we're playing on the counter or playing defensively, and of course this will vary based on the opposition we're up against, then their roles will vary as well, and I'm happy with that. As far as the two up front are concerned, I feel like the Championship is one of them leagues where there's no point playing defensive football, right? Simply because the standard of players and the mentality of anyone can beat anyone. It's not a mentality, it's the truth. Anyone can beat anyone on the day, and there's so many games to play where it's kind of just like you're always going to concede goals in the Championship. And the only way to counteract that is by making sure that you're scoring goals at the other end. That's just how I see the Championship. It's very different to the Premier League. It's not the approach I take in the Premier League, particularly if we newly get promoted. That's definitely not the approach I want to take, where I try to outscore teams like Man City, Man United, because it's never going to happen. But I feel like this is the approach we've personally got to take in this league. And I feel like it works to our strengths as well, because most of our strength is in our attacking players, because our back four is hideous. It has to say the least, bar perhaps Charlie Mulgrew. So schedule-wise, I'm not really too pleased with what we're doing in pre-season. Apparently we're going to France, I think it is, or Switzerland. Where are the... Yeah, we're going to Switzerland for a pre-season tour. I don't really have a problem with it, but like that's a professional team. But some of the other teams we're playing against are semi-professional teams, and to be fully honest, it'll be great for morale. You know, we'll go into that first game of the season up against Norwich with pretty decent morale. But to be brutally honest, I kind of want my players to be working a little bit harder than up against semi-professional sides. But there's nothing I can do about it, I don't think. I've never ever cancelled a pre-season tour before. I don't know if you could do it in Football Manager. But once we're back in England, we'll have a friendly against Peterborough United, who are, of course, in the league below us in League One. So hopefully that'll be decent preparation for our first game of the season up against Norwich, who I personally think are definitely contenders to not only win the league, but, you know, definitely get promoted. They've got such a strong side, such a great manager in Alex Neil, that, to be honest, it's going to be a very, very tough first game of the season for us. And in real life, we got battered 4-0, I think it was. I won't be surprised if the same thing happened here. It will be live commed, so I'm going to quickly play through all the pre-season games, get our players' match fitness up and running, and I'll see you guys in a few seconds' time. Right then, pre-season played, and as you can see, we pretty much won every game. I would have liked perhaps more games in between, but in the Championship, you don't really have that long of a pre-season because of the sheer amount of games you have to play. So Norwich, before we knew it, came up thick and fast. Positively, we won all our games, which means morale is relatively high. Negatively, I wasn't really pleased with how we performed against Peterborough, who were obviously a league below us. I wasn't really happy about conceding 3 goals to them at home. Transfer-wise, we couldn't really do much. We came really close to signing Labiad, who we actually had for a short period of time over pre-season. Really neat player. I think he was playing for Fulham before us. Yep, I offered him a contract. It was all going well. And then I realised that there was a 61k bonus of some sort in there, like an upfront bonus. And basically, because our owners haven't given us any transfer budget and weren't willing to even pay that 61k, talks broke down. And when I tried to talk to him now, him and his agent aren't having any of it, which is really sad because I think he would have been a really good signing. 2 of our youngsters have gone out on loan, but Yaya Sanogo is a man we brought in. He was offered to me by Arsenal on loan, and to be honest, he's a bit of a Football Manager legend. He's not as good as he once upon a time was on Football Manager, but at this level, I think he's going to be brilliant. He complements the rest of our other strikers in Danny Graham and Sam Gallagher really, really well. He's really tall as well, so that means we're going to be a great threat in the air up front, which is what we want, given that we're playing a 4-4-2 crossing game. Decent physical stats, could have slightly better finishing, but 14 heading, and when you look at how well he did for us in pre-season, scoring 6 goals in 5 appearances and getting 2 assists as well, he definitely looks like a decent striker, and it's important that we have competition for them places as well. The second player we brought in is Anders Hegelskar. He's Danish. He's only 19, and we only brought him in on loan. He's really cheap to bring in, and to be honest, I brought him in on trial. I was looking for another left back, and he's really impressed me. His tackling is poor, his marking is poor, and his strength is poor. So defensively, he's not that good, but going forward, he's gotten quite a few assists in pre-season. Non-competitive says only one, but he's played really, really well. Decent physical stats, can definitely cross a ball, decent on the ball. So we'll have to see what happens. And he can also play left mid as well as centre back. So a good, versatile young player who hopefully can only improve. Ewood Park, Blackburn Rovers up against Norwich City, newly relegated, fresh from the Premier League. Phenomenal side that they've got on us, to be brutally honest. They should be walking this league, I'm not even joking. But here we go, first game of this brand new season. Can we pull off the upset? I'm not too sure. Squad-wise, we haven't had much investment. We keep getting worse and worse under our current owners. And Norwich should really be all over us. But 15 minutes in, so far so good. We've not had that many opportunities, but neither have they. Seems like it's quite a well-fought game. 25 minutes in, 30 minutes in, we're not really seeing much. I'd be happy with a point against Norwich, being Blackburn Rovers. But in the Championship, anyone can beat anyone, particularly given that we're at home. We might be able to get the win, I don't know, but you look at some of their players, like Ivo Pinto, for example, or Stephen Naismith, or Cameron Jerome, or Robbie Brady. Honestly, these are just players that are just miles better than most other players in this league. Is that the referee in the background? Like, the linesman? I've never noticed that before, actually. That's, like, really up close to the linesman. That's pretty cool, actually. I've never noticed that. So listen, it's 0-0. You know, I want to tell them not to get complacent, but the game won't let me. So I'll tell them I'm relatively happy with how things are going. Do I want to change things? Yeah, I do. I'm not really happy with how Danny Graham's done so far. Probably consider bringing Yaya Sanogo on around the 60th minute if Danny Graham doesn't step his game up a little bit. Because Yaya Sanogo formed a really good partnership with young Sam Gallagher in pre-season and grabbed, I think, 6 or 7 goals in pre-season. And when you consider we didn't have him for all of pre-season, that's rather phenomenal. But anyways, here we go. Ben Marshall plays the throw-in towards Graham, who wins the ball in the air, but we are quick to lose it, which is no surprise given how shite our midfield is. And the quick direct ball towards Robbie Brady. We're playing a relatively high line. I don't want to adjust it just yet, but you know, it does go to show that Norwich are starting to pounce on us. Cameron Jerome picks the ball up as Brady crosses the ball into Pritchard. How have we not conceded there? Really, really poor defending from us. And I pretend to act surprised, but, you know, given that around a few hours ago I just got back from Blackburn getting wrecked by Preston, 3-2 at Deepdale, yeah, nothing really surprised me anymore with Blackburn, unfortunately. Let's leave it at that. So I'm going to move Jason Lowe to right back and bring in Darragh Lenihan in defensive midfield, taking off Ben Marshall, who's looking complacent, more than likely down to the fact that he knows his contract is expiring in 6 months. But my gut feeling tells me I still feel like we could maybe nick a goal and then sit back on it. Jerome plays the ball back towards Yusuf Mulumbu. And at the moment, we're defensively not too shabby. Lenihan gets a tackle in, of course. He's just come on from the bench, and Sanogo wins the ball in the air. Now Gallagher and Sanogo combined both have at least 190 centimetres between them, but we played the direct ball, lost the ball. It's really frustrating seeing your team play like that. Before the tactical familiarity is kicked in, they just, especially at this kind of level of football, they just love hoofing the ball. It's like until the passing style of the tactical familiarity kicks in, you're going to constantly get these hoof balls. But if we score from this hoof ball, you know what? I couldn't care less. As Gallagher finds Emnes on the overlap, Lenihan plays it wide to Stephen Hendry, who whips the ball in, and Sanogo scores! The man on loan, the Frenchman on loan from Arsenal, finds a header at the back post, and this is it, ladies and gents. 1-0 up against Norwich. This was the gut feeling that I had. Brought on Lenihan as a substitute, only 22 years old, I believe he is, a 23. What an assist towards Stephen Hendry at the left wing, and a phenomenal cross from Stephen Hendry as well. Every time I say Stephen bloody Hendry, I think of the bloody snooker player, but we do have the lead. And we need to be able to hold on to this now. So what I'm going to do as a result of that, I'm going to go 3 at the back, quite simply. Not the normal approach that I would take a lot of the time, but it's the approach I've decided to take now. So we're defensive. We're going to try and hold on to this 1-0 lead up against Norwich. Switch to Kinsane. I know a lot of people don't like Kinsane, but oh, wow. How's he missed that? Jesus, if we'd gone 2-0 up there, I think I would have had a heart attack. Like I said, on paper, taking a look at this Norwich side, newly relegated, they've got some phenomenal players in this side. And I can't believe we've just beat them at home. Tell everybody they did well and shut up a lot of people. Well done on a great result, guys. This is sick for us as well, because it means we can build up our morale. It was only a 1-0 win. Not the most convincing of goals, but positive to see, our loan signing Yaya Sanogo get on the score sheet. So I guess he has to start the next game. But great result for us up against Norwich, who, like I said, are going to easily be in and around, if not the playoff spots, the automatic promotion spots, come towards the end of the season, unless Alex Neil bottle jobs it. So what a result for us. And that's going to be it for this episode, I guess. Schedule-wise, we've got Fleetwood next in the EFL Cup. We've got Wigan, Cardiff, Burton, Fulham, and then QPR away. So the next video will most likely be a live com of either the Fulham match or the QPR match. We'll see how that materialises. And then we've got 2 really tough games against Derby County and Sheffield Wednesday. So like I said before, our overall aim is to eventually get Blackburn Rovers back into the Premier League. Is that going to happen anytime soon? No, not until we get some kind of transfer budget, and that might mean, when the Venkies leave, which probably isn't looking very likely. But until then, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and until then, see you next time.